Hello, my name is Garrett Wheeler, and today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 best movies of 2017. 2017 was a really good year for movies. I saw a lot of great stuff this year, but out of all the movies that I've seen, these 10 were the ones that just really stuck out to me the most. Now, a few things to keep in mind. One, I have not seen every movie this year. There are some movies that I've heard were really great that I have not seen. For example, The Post, All the Money in the World, War for the Planet of the Apes. I'm sure there's more. There's probably more. I, Tonya, The Phantom Thread. There's probably more. There were a lot of good movies that I haven't seen. I'm busy. What can I say? And the second thing to keep in mind is that this is my personal opinion. No one's going to be agreeing with everyone on the exact same things. So everything that's on this list, it's my personal opinion. If you don't like it or think something else should be on here, awesome. Just it's my opinion, so deal with it. Haha. I'm really bad at this. Before we officially begin, I'd like to give you my honorable mentions. Now, since there were so many good movies that came out this year, I actually had enough movies to make a full-out top 20, so my honorable mentions are ordered from 20th favorite to 11th favorite. Why did I do this? Because I can. Here they are. With that said, let's get started. Number 10 is Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Okay, hold on. Stop. Shut up. I realize that this Star Wars isn't necessarily the most well-loved Star Wars. In fact, it's been probably the most polarizing movie of the year. And honestly, I can completely understand why. Is it perfect? No. Are there some stupid things in this movie? Absolutely. But here's the thing. What's good in this movie? It's really freaking good. I love the visuals, the music, the action, the story. I love what this movie does with some of the characters, specifically Luke, Rey, and Kylo Ren. Those three characters absolutely steal the show every time they're on screen. It's so good. It's a very complex movie with a very winding story. It's very fascinating, very exciting to watch, and it's another great movie in the franchise, in my opinion. If you don't like it, that's fine. I completely understand, but it's just my opinion that it's great. Okay? Next one. My 9th favorite movie of the year is one of the most unique movies I've ever seen, The Shape of Water. The Shape of Water is a perfect example of a dark, twisted fairy tale. It's... Mother, don't cough, please. It's a very captivating story with some very fascinating characters with some of the best acting I've ever heard. Sally Hawkins in this movie is incredible, and Michael Shannon as the candy munchin' villain is one of my favorite characters of the year, absolutely. It's beautifully written, beautifully shot, and the music is some of the absolute best that I've heard all year. The score and the soundtrack for this movie is absolutely phenomenal. It's mainly because I'm a huge sucker for music from the 1940s through the 1960s, but still, it's so good. This movie is just great. Watch it. When your movie has a concept that should be absolutely weird and gross, but ends up being absolutely beautiful and tragic, your movie has done something right. My number 8 pick is one of those rare instances where a sequel released decades later from the original turns out absolutely phenomenal. Blade Runner 2049. I saw the original Blade Runner in preparation for this movie, and while I liked it, it definitely felt a little bit too slow-paced and kind of overacted for me to fully get into. I still appreciated it for the milestone that movie was, but I have a feeling in order for me to really love it, I'm going to have to watch it a few more times because of how complex it is. With Blade Runner 2049, I loved it from the very first viewing. It's a very fascinating, gripping story with some great acting and some really interesting characters. The themes are all very fully realized, and they all lead up to a very intense and gripping climax that has a lot of really good stuff in it. The movie is almost 3 hours long, which kind of makes it hard for me to really fully get into, which kind of brings it down a few notches, but as a whole, it's just a really incredible experience and has some amazing stuff in it. And the cinematography, the movie's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. It's one of the best looking movies I've ever seen, if not the best looking movie I've ever seen. If Roger Deakins does not win the Oscar for best cinematography, I'm gonna punch somebody. Except I'm probably not gonna do that because I'm pretty passive, honestly. But still, come on, Academy, be smart for once, please. Coming in at number 7 is, in my opinion, the biggest surprise of the year, Wonder Woman. Up until this point, the DC Cinematic Universe movies have ranged from but Wonder Woman, it is the first movie in this franchise to actually be great. It's a great story with very likable and entertaining characters with some really exciting fight scenes, including that one fight scene in the battleground. That's one of my favorite action scenes of the year. It's a very well-paced movie with a surprising amount of lighthearted humor while also keeping a very strong emotional core to it. And most importantly, this movie is just fun. It's a lot of fun, so much fun. One of the most fun movies I've watched all year. The ending does kind of suck though. So, moving from the most surprising movie of the year to the most overlooked movie of the year, at number 6 we have Wind River, one of the most chilling, gripping movies I've seen all year. This movie is chilling, it's haunting, it's heavy, it's powerful, it's emotional, it's intense. It's everything that a story of this caliber should be. It's got some phenomenal acting, including a career best from Jeremy Renner. The cinematography is gorgeous, and this movie has one of the best third acts I've seen all year. It's intense, it's brutal, it's disgusting, it's sick, but it is so just... it resolves well. I don't want to spoil anything, but I'll just say it resolves really well. Just watch this movie. It got criminally underlooked. Just watch it. It's so good. Coming in at number 5 is a movie that some people will probably expect to be higher on the list, but even though it's only at number 5, it still deserves to be on here because it's an excellent movie, Ladybird. Ladybird is a very funny and very emotional coming-of-age story with some of the best acting I've seen all year. Mom! Even though this is a story that feels like it's been done so many times before, the way that this movie tells it, it feels so fresh and new, and it feels like I'm seeing this story for the first time. This movie is also very relatable, which is kind of odd because, after all, I am not a girl who went to a Catholic high school. But this movie is just relatable for the way it presents its story. I feel like everyone that watches this movie will be able to identify with at least one character in this movie, or at least see themselves or recognize someone they knew as one of these characters. It's very witty, very smart, and just so good all around. An excellent movie. I can easily see why it's considered the absolute best movie of the year. But there are 4 movies that I like more than this one, so whoops! Coming in at number 4 is the coolest movie I have ever seen, Baby Driver. I don't know. Baby Driver is a very unique movie in that the entire movie is set around the soundtrack that it has. Every action scene, every piece of dialogue has a rhythm to it, and the movie is executed so well with some of the best editing I've seen probably ever. It's really well done with what Edgar Wright does with this movie, and not just in just the editing aspect, even though he probably didn't edit this movie, but he directed it, but in the directing of this movie. The directing of this movie is absolutely incredible. The way every single shot is paced and flows into one another, it's really awesome. And the story and the characters are all highly entertaining. This is one of the most fun movies I've seen in quite a while. It's just so good on so many levels, and Edgar Wright, you're the man. Why am I so stupid? I don't know. Okay. Coming in at number 3, we have my favorite comedy of the year, The Big Sick. I wasn't really sure what I was walking into while walking into this movie, but after watching it, I fell in love. It's a great story with some great writing and some great characters and great acting. Kumail, so underappreciated for this movie. He does so good as not just an actor, but also as a writer. This movie is so smartly written with some really hilarious scenes. And also a really strong emotional edge to this movie. This is the only movie that I've seen this year where I'm going from busting out laughing one scene to going to a scene where I'm close to crying in the next scene and then just going right back to the laughter again. It's very well paced, it's very well written. Again, it's so funny, it's so good. I've seen it twice, I want to see it again. I have the DVD on Blu-ray, I got it for Christmas. Thanks, parents. It's so good, it's so good. It's so good. It's so good. Deciding the placements for spots 1 and 2 was really tough for me. Like, I knew which movies I wanted to put in those spots, but which one was number 1, which one was number 2, I didn't know. I flipped back and forth on this so much the past few days, and after lots of consideration, I finally decided that my second favorite movie of the year is 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Every single aspect of this movie is excellent. The acting, the writing, the cinematography, the editing, the pacing, all of it is executed so well. This movie is very bleak, it's very dark, but this movie also has a lot of humor to it, even though this movie is essentially about grief in a town that is pretty awful. Some of these characters say and do some absolutely awful, just disgusting things, but the way this movie is executed, it just has so much personality with it, and these characters, even though they're not necessarily likable, they're so interesting. And for me, Sam Rockwell as Officer Dixon, he gives the performance of the year of the movies that I've seen. What he does in this movie, and the arc that his character goes through, it's so good. 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. After the first time I saw it, I said it's one of the best movies I had seen in a long time. And second time seeing it, I can still agree with that statement. It is very funny, as dark as it is, and very emotional. And it's just so well written, so acted, and it's just a very powerful movie. Watch it. It's really good. So what is my favorite movie of the year? What could it be? What if I told you that it is the best comic book movie ever released since The Dark Knight? In fact, dare I say, it's better than The Dark Knight. And I'm not just saying this because my brother shares the same name. No, my favorite movie of the year is Logan. Logan is one of the most heartbreaking and brutal movies I have seen in a while. The way that the story is told is just gut-wrenching, not just because of knowing this character for this long, but just how this story is executed. It's just has so many elements to it and levels to it. It's beauty hidden in darkness. I think that's the best way of describing it. It's unflinching, it pulls no punches, and it's gripping at every single turn. It never slowed down for me once. Yes, even during the second act, where everyone said there was a lull during that part. I loved that scene. It was so good. Everything about this movie is executed so well. Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart give the performances of their careers in these roles. They do just so good in this movie. You can tell that they're so broken down, beaten up, at their lowest low, and they execute it so well. And this movie also has some amazing child acting, which is huge, because everyone knows that children in movies, they usually suck at acting, but every child in this movie, they did so good. Especially the main girl's name. I can't remember her name, which is a shame, because I should know her name. And I would look it up right now, but I'm being filmed by my phone, and I have my notes on my laptop, and I don't have a lot of storage on that, and I don't want to stop the recording because it would mess up the angle of the camera. So I'm just gonna put the name on the screen. You did great. You're awesome. This movie has some amazing action in it as well. It is brutal, it is bloody, it is intense, but it is so satisfying every single time these scenes hit. This is just an amazing accomplishment. It is well written, like I said, well acted, like I said, well paced, like I said, well shot. This movie is surprisingly very beautiful, as bleak as it is, and as a whole, this movie, as heavy as it is, it also makes me feel happy, because this movie, it legitimately is a masterpiece in every sense of the word. And that is why Logan is my #1 film of 2017. Hello everybody, the list is over. Are you glad it's over? Probably. Did you agree with some of the stuff on my list? Probably. Did you disagree with some of the stuff on this list? Most likely. Do you think I'm really dumb? Most definitely. Well, whatever thoughts you're feeling right now, I hope you enjoy my list. If you want to see what movies I thought sucked, I have a worst list. I'll probably put it in the description or something. And that's the year of 2017. I know it's 2018 right now, but 2017 is over, and the movies of that year are over. What's 2018 gonna hold for us? I know Incredibles 2 is coming out. I'm excited for that. But, yeah, that's it. Get out of my house. Logan is one of the most heartbreaking and brutal movies I've seen in the past few years. I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me. I'm a good Christian boy.